Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting in the world of large language models.
Okay.
You know, those AI systems that
Right.
can write just like a person can.
Yeah.
And so specifically, we're diving into this research paper, and the name of it is a bit of a mouthful. It's called Multi-Expert Prompting. Improves reliability, safety, and usefulness of large language models.
Right.
But basically, it's all about a new way to make these large language models, LLMs as they're called,
Yeah.
more reliable.
Okay.
And they're calling it multi-expert prompting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Multi-expert prompting.
Yeah, so what is that all about?
Well, it's basically kind of simulating like different viewpoints within the LLM.
Okay.
So it's similar to like how, we might seek out multiple expert opinions, if we had an important decision.
So instead of just getting one answer
Yeah.
from the AI,
Right.
we're kind of getting a whole panel discussion going.
Kind of.
That's a pretty interesting concept.
It is, and it's surprisingly effective.
Okay.
The research paper highlights limitations of single expert frameworks,
Right.
because they often produce overly simplistic answers,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about complex issues.
Right.
Just like in real life, a single expert, no matter how much they know,
Uh-huh.
they can have blind spots.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense that getting, more than one perspective
Right.
can really give you a better understanding.
Yeah.
The paper uses this example of, is it ethical to eat meat?
Okay.
Like, how would multi-expert prompting even approach a question like that?
Well, instead of getting a potentially biased response from like a single source,
Right.
you would have maybe like an ethicist,
Okay.
a nutritionist,
Okay.
an environmental scientist,
Okay.
all these different experts that
Yeah.
could offer their take.
Okay.
And then you'd have like a more balanced and insightful response.
So how does the LLM actually create these like expert identities? Does it pull from like a database of existing expert profiles?
Not exactly. It kind of generates these identities based on the question or task at hand.
Okay.
The paper actually has a really helpful visualization that explains this really well.
I think that's figure 2.
Yeah, it is.
It shows how the LLM is generating these like really concise descriptions for each expert,
Exactly.
like outlining their role and expertise.
Yeah, it's a really streamlined process.
Right.
And it basically allows the LLM to like tailor the experts to the
Oh.
question.
Okay, so let's say the LLM has made this panel
Right.
of virtual experts.
Yeah.
And they've all given their opinions.
Yeah.
Like, how do we go from all of these different opinions to a final answer?
So that's where the second stage of multi-expert prompting comes in,
Right.
which is aggregating the expert responses.
Okay.
And this is where the researchers drew inspiration from something called the nominal group technique.
I'm not familiar with that.
NGT for short.
NGT.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's something that's used in team settings.
Is that like a brainstorming kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a structured process that helps to encourage balanced participation and, generate ideas, solve problems, make decisions effectively.
And so this is something that was like used by people, and now it's being applied to AI.
That's what's so fascinating.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So they're borrowing from human decision-making to make the AI more reliable.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. And so they adapted the principles of NGT into a series of subtasks that the LLM performs to kind of synthesize the expert responses.
So it's not just like averaging opinions.
It's way more sophisticated than that.
Yeah.
The LLM is basically acting as a moderator in a debate between these experts.
That's cool.
To arrive at like the best answer.
It's like a debate club.
Yeah, kinda.
Can you give me a bit more insight into how this debate actually works?
All right.
Like, what are some of the steps?
Okay. Well, one of the first steps is figuring out what all the experts agree on.
Okay.
So like where their opinions kind of converge.
Right.
And this kind of creates a foundation for the next steps.
That makes sense. But I imagine there are some points where they might disagree.
Yeah.
How does the LLM handle that?
So it's designed to pinpoint where experts disagree. And it doesn't just flag that there's a conflict. It actually says which expert has each opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it remembers who said what.
Right.
That seems important.
It is, because then the next step is trying to resolve the conflict.
Okay.
So maybe it'll refer back to the points of agreement, or use its knowledge to provide context.
So the LLM is like mediating this whole debate.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just about resolving conflicts.
Okay.
It also looks for those unique opinions that maybe the majority of experts don't share.
So it's not just about finding what the majority thinks.
Exactly.
It's also about,
Yeah, sometimes the best ideas come from the people who think differently.
Bringing in those unique perspectives.
Right.
This whole process sounds really complex.
It is. So basically it gathers all of the viewpoints that it thinks are important.
Okay.
So points of agreement, resolved conflicts, those unique insights, and then it uses all of those to construct the final response.
So it's kind of like, almost like a writer.
Yeah. That's a great analogy.
Putting together this essay or something.
Yeah, and then there's even a final step.
Really?
Where the LLM evaluates its own work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like double checking.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This technique sounds incredibly thorough.
Yeah, it is. And the results are really impressive.
I'm curious to see how it actually performs in practice.
Yeah, me too.
Did the researchers, test it out?
They did. And we can dive into the results after a short break.
Perfect. We'll be right back.
So as promised,
okay,
let's get into these results.
Okay.
So they tested multi-expert prompting across a bunch of different metrics.
Okay.
Like truthfulness, factuality.
Right.
Even things like toxic language.
Yeah, that's important.
It is, especially as these systems become more common in our lives.
Right. We want to make sure they're giving us the right information.
Exactly. So the results are really encouraging.
Okay.
Multi-expert prompting beat the other techniques across the board.
Wow.
One benchmark that stood out was truthful QA.
Okay.
And this is specifically designed to see how well an LLM can avoid making false statements.
So it's basically like a test to see if it's lying or not.
Pretty much.
In this age of misinformation.
Right.
That seems like a pretty important test.
It is a very important test.
Did multi-expert prompting do well?
It did. A lot better than the others.
Okay.
Especially when it came to history, science, and those things called indexical errors.
What's an indexical error?
Oh, it's like when an LLM makes a mistake.
Okay.
When it's referring to a specific person, place, or thing.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah.
So it's basically getting its facts straight by using these multiple viewpoints.
Right.
It's almost like it has a built-in fact checker.
That's a great way to put it.
So multi-expert prompting is good at avoiding lies.
Yeah.
What about recognizing factual inconsistencies, more broadly?
So for that, they used a benchmark called factuality prompt.
Okay.
And that's designed to assess if the LLM can tell the difference between facts and non-facts.
So it's not just about avoiding lies, it's about...
Yeah. That's like, can it reason about the truthfulness?
Did multi-expert prompting do well on this one, too?
It did. It was much better than the other techniques.
Especially at catching those.
Yeah, like those subtle inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it seems like those diverse perspectives are really helping with critical evaluation of information.
Okay, so we talked about accuracy.
Yeah.
What about, toxic language?
Yeah.
They
looked at that, too.
Did they use, different tests?
They've used a couple different benchmarks.
Okay.
Bold and honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are specifically for...
Yeah, so bold measures toxicity in general.
Okay.
And honest focuses on the potential for, hurtful language.
So we want to make sure the AI isn't saying anything offensive.
Right.
Or biased or stereotypical or anything like that.
Yeah. And multi-expert prompting had a really positive impact.
Oh, good.
Here.
Okay.
On bold. It significantly reduced the toxic language.
That's great.
It is. And on honest.
Uh-huh.
It led to more sensitive and inclusive language.
So it's not just about facts.
Right.
It's about
being ethical and respectful.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
So what about the overall quality of the information?
Yeah.
How helpful was it?
So for that, they used a benchmark called Expert QA.
Okay.
And that focuses on open-ended questions
Okay.
where there isn't one right answer.
Okay.
And for this one, they actually had ChatGPT
Wait.
judge the responses.
They used AI to judge the AI.
I know.
That's so meta.
It is.
Okay.
But it's a really objective way to figure out if something is informative, useful.
So what did ChatGPT think?
It consistently rated the multi-expert prompting responses
Okay.
as way more informative and useful.
So it's not just about how long the answer is.
Exactly.
It's about if it's actually a good answer.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all really interesting.
It is.
I am curious, though, about some of the details, like their methodology.
Okay.
Did they, try out different things?
They did.
With the multi-expert prompting?
Yeah, they experimented with different parts of it to see what worked best.
I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, we can definitely dive into that.
Okay, cool. So before we took a break, we were talking about those experiments that the researchers did.
Right.
Trying out different things with multi-expert prompting.
Yeah.
What did they learn?
So one thing they looked at was the length of those expert descriptions.
Oh, right. Those little blurbs.
Yeah.
That tell the LLM what each expert is all about.
Exactly.
So did they find that longer descriptions were better?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But actually, just one sentence worked just as well as those longer descriptions.
Wow. So the LLM doesn't really need a whole backstory.
It seems like
for each expert. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
It is.
So what else did they try?
Well, they also tried different numbers of experts.
Oh, okay.
To see what worked best.
So how many experts were in the panel?
Exactly.
Did they try 2 experts?
They tried everything from 1 expert to 10 experts.
10 experts.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of opinions to juggle.
It does.
Did more experts always lead to better answers?
Actually, no. 3 seemed to be the sweet spot.
Really?
Yeah.
Why 3?
Well, if you had fewer than 3,
the
results weren't as good.
Okay.
And more than 3 didn't really make that much of a difference.
3, huh?
Yeah.
I guess you get more perspectives, but it doesn't get too crowded.
Right. It's like a good balance.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of like that nominal group technique we talked about.
Right.
Sometimes too many people can make it harder to make a decision.
Okay. So we know 3 experts is best.
Yeah.
Each with a 1-sentence description.
Yeah. But how often did the LLM actually choose that aggregated answer?
Right.
Versus just going with one of the individual experts?
Yeah, so both ChatGPT and Mistral,
okay,
those were the 2 LLMs they tested. They chose the aggregated response over 90% of the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that means that all that work that the LLM did,
right,
with the comparing and contrasting and the synthesizing.
Right, all those steps.
It actually led to a better answer.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It's pretty amazing to think about.
It is.
We can actually improve these AI systems just by looking at how humans make decisions.
Exactly.
This research is really making me think about all the different ways we could use this multi-expert prompting.
Right, like in education or journalism.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even scientific research.
If we can make these LLMs more truthful, more factual, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah, and it also makes you think about, the future of AI in general. If we can get these kinds of improvements just by using these human-centered approaches.
Yeah. What else could we do?
Exactly.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into multi-expert prompting.
I think so.
Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Just remember to always think critically about the information you're getting.
Good advice.
No matter where it's coming from.
Well, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It was my pleasure.